Hi guys, my name is Kathleen Worschke and I am doing my career profile number 2 presentation, and I am in Sister Blanchard's class for Family 150. The career that I chose was a marriage and family therapist. That's the kind of the career that I was thinking of heading into when I started this major. And if I go into that, in the end, I want to work with families who specifically have children with ADHD and autism. So I contacted a local therapist that we have that deals with those kind of kids and just kind of picked her brain to get the information that I needed. So the one interesting thing and the thing that I kind of like about this career is that there's so much flexibility. There's flexibility in office type, there's flexibility in hours you work, there's flexibility in pay and things like that. So the kind of the work environment that we thought would be good would be a office that's very family friendly. Obviously, you'll be dealing with families and autistic and ADHD kids, and so small, family friendly. However, you have the opportunity to have a big office, to have more therapists in your office. So it's kind of up to you. You can kind of go your own way, do your own thing, or you can work with a group of other therapists. So you have kind of flexible hours, and that'll depend on your clientele too. Sometimes you can work 8 to 5 in our ward. We kind of have a lot of therapists in our ward, and I know one that works from like 3 to 11 o'clock at night. So really it just kind of depends if you want to, how you want to go about that. But generally, if you work for someone else, it's going to be like an 8 to 5 kind of job. The typical stressors of this job, and it could depend on your personality too, but one thing that we came up with, or that my therapist came up with that I thought was pretty amazing, was as a therapist, trying to fix someone else's marital or family problems when you have your own marriage and family problems. It's kind of hard to, you're kind of like a hypocrite, you're not really practicing what you're preaching. And so that was something that she thought, maybe when you do this, you need to make sure you're in a good place where you're at. Another thing that she said was that you could have a tendency, depending on your personality, to internalize it and really hold on to that and brood over other people's problems as you're trying to fix them, and that it just kind of consumes, night and day thoughts, which I'm sure happens to some extent, but I'm kind of a worrier, and so I'd probably be the one who was really worried about and internalized other people's problems and trying to fix it. One thing that I thought was pretty interesting that she said was that sometimes, something that's really frustrating is that you don't see your patients progress as fast as you would like them to progress, and that, it's kind of like that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and so that can be extremely frustrating, to kind of take it slow until your client, it really clicks with them and they understand what you're trying to get across to them, and that they even accept what you're trying to help them do. If you take time off, you have to worry about, you don't have money coming in. So if you don't work for, a bunch of therapists and you don't have like a vacation package, if you don't work a couple days, you're not getting any money. So you kind of have to worry about that and plan accordingly. The other thing is, if you take time off and your patients need you, could you really relax knowing you have patients back that really, really need you? And so it's kind of tricky, and that can be a big stress. Is, I know I wouldn't be able to relax if I had a family that was really having a hard time. I'd probably spend the whole vacation brooding about it. So, you kind of have to realize that vacation may not be obtainable if you work by yourself. Some typical benefits, again, it depends on if you're on your own or if you, you have a group of therapists, but if you're in a group of therapists, you can all go in on health benefits. Kind of if you're doing it on your own, you're going to probably have to buy your own health care package for you and your family, but, that's kind of an option. Common job tasks, you'd have face-to-face interviews, obviously, and then the paperwork and documentation that would go into after your interviews and stuff. You have to do scheduling, billing, and return phone calls. Obviously, the last three, or the two, the billing and scheduling would, again, depend on if you're going to be by yourself or with a group of people. If you're with a group of people, you could hire someone to do that for you, but just lots of things to kind of think about. To be a marriage and family therapist, you have to have your master's degree or higher. They just do not let you become a therapist without it. Then you have to take a state test, but before you can do that, you have to do 4,000 hours of work, and then naturally you have to have a state's license. Other educational things that you have to do, like I guess miscellaneous things you have to do. You have to have the continuing education credit as part of your license, and that you have to go to conferences and read books and things like that. And then generally it's helpful if you have someone you can collaborate with, like another therapist. Sometimes we don't think of all the options that we could, and someone else's brain to pick is like a great idea. So helpful, she said, is to have someone else you can collaborate with. The starting salary for this, again, is very variable depending on what you decide to do, but it's pretty much anywhere from $60,000 up to $100,000. I was kind of surprised by $100,000, but when I was talking to her, she said it's totally possible. It just depends on how you work it, and if you have more people in your office or if you don't. So obviously, if you don't have a lot of people, you don't have a lot of overhead or pay for extra staff or things like that, but then again, it's more work for you. Anyway, that's it. I thought this was very interesting. There are a lot of things that I didn't even think about as far as typical stressors, but that's it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much.